Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory and this is Africa 54. We begin in Egypt, where the Muslim Brotherhood is calling for a 1 million-person march on Tuesday to protest President Morsi's ouster by the military. Weekend clashes between pro-Morsi supporters, their political opponents and security forces left some 74 people dead. Today in Cairo, Catherine Ashton, the European Union's foreign policy chief, urged Egypt's interim government to step back from confrontation with the Muslim Brotherhood. VOA's Elizabeth Arrott has more from Cairo.
A makeshift morgue in Cairo's Rabaa al-Adawiya Mosque. Mourners pray over the bodies of demonstrators killed in clashes with security forces early Saturday. Relatives grieve as the victims are identified. Nearby, those wounded in the pre-dawn fighting get basic care. As the bodies are taken from the mosque, anger mounts at security forces. The armed forces called for mass rallies Friday to support their war on violence and terrorism, a campaign many see as a bid to crack down on supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi and his Muslim Brotherhood. Activist Mohammed Sultan.
They called it a war on terror. This is terror. You have peaceful protesters that all they have is their voices and their bodies, and they're sitting at the other side of the barrel saying, we're going to fight for this freedom, and you're going to shoot at them? It takes a coward to pull the trigger.
Security forces say they were confronted by violent protesters marching out from the Muslim Brotherhood encampment. One of the injured said that was only partly true, since police quickly resorted to disproportionate force.
They used live ammunition and used it against protesters present here in the square, and whenever protesters attacked them, they shot live bullets at them.
The violence seems set to only deepen the nation's divisions. Some protesters have redoubled their rejection of any talks with the interim government. Others say they'll broaden their anti-military movement.
It needs people that are not necessarily pro-Morsi, that see the Muslim Brotherhood as having failed in the past year. But you know what? That approval ratings, whether it goes up or down, that doesn't determine whether you break the ideals and principles of democracy. That's not how democracy works. You don't get to choose when you want to oust a president. You wait until the term is done.
Now, for the latest from Cairo, we're joined via Skype by VOA's Elizabeth Arrott. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Vincent.
Yes, now we see really angry demonstrators there, but they're saying they're not being stopped by even the deaths. That's the position.
No, if anything, it would seem that that's sort of hardening their position and their determination to stay on in the main encampment there.
Mm-hmm. Now, today, talks going on there with the European Catherine Ashton. Any progress in those talks? Are the two sides being put around a table?
No, it seems that Lady Ashton met with the two sides separately, with the military-backed government officials and then members of the Muslim Brotherhood's political wing. We haven't had any details, but it doesn't seem from certainly the events of the last few days that there's a quick fix to this. Maybe she's just trying to get them to cool off for a little bit. That would be probably the best possible scenario at this point.
A lot of tension. Now, looking to tomorrow, what are some of the causes for the tension in the air?
Well, tonight, it's just evening now in Cairo, and the Muslim Brotherhood has called on its supporters to start marching towards some of the military installations. That, as you probably remember, was a cause of an earlier massacre of, I think it was 53 Muslim Brotherhood supporters when they got near the Republican Guard. So it seems that's something that's raising the tensions. And also the government and various officials have been talking, sort of hinting at bringing an emergency law, which would certainly be something they could use to clear the area. And people are very worried that again would bring on more violence and deaths.
Up to this point, it looks clear that none of the sides are moving their positions at all.
No, and they just seem to be entrenching and even escalating, moving outside the camps on the part of the Muslim Brotherhood, of reinforcing the threat of force on the part of the government. And while we've heard of both Lady Ashton's contributions and some behind-the-scenes talks, indirect talks between Muslim Brotherhood members and through European sources mainly, there is some hope, but we're really just not seeing the effects of that yet.
Mm-hmm. How's life like in Cairo today, Elizabeth?
Well, it's strange that certainly people are apprehensive. But as often is the case, the areas where these events are happening are very, very crowded and very dangerous. But people are still able to go about their business. It is Ramadan, so it tends to be quite quiet during the day, and then people come out during the night. Last night was interesting. There was a wonderful group called the Third Square, and they wanted to show up as an alternative to Tahrir and the Muslim Brotherhood, and say that we just need to get back to the original point of the revolution. Unfortunately, there was like about 200 people there. People otherwise are very much divided on what's going on.
Well, we'll keep watching the situation there. Thanks a lot, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Arrott of the Voice of America reporting live from Cairo.